Hello, welcome back. My name is David Hawkins and welcome to this video actually on changing the demos or editing the demos for your brand, your business. So this is going to be the most difficult tutorial out of the lot, but I think you'll find that it's actually still quite intuitive. It really is just a case usually of enabling or disabling layers and perhaps editing some text here and there. So let's get straight into this. So on the top layer here, or the top level, you've got all of these yellow layers, which you're no doubt familiar with now, which indicate that they are there to be edited. The grey layers are pre-rendered and they don't need to be changed at all. So let's go into our device demo here. It's this scene we've got towards the end. Select device demo. In here it looks a little bit overwhelming. Don't be overwhelmed, because again you can see that the only layers we've got to pay attention to are these at the bottom, although there may be just some enabling or disabling you can do at the top here. So this video is actually going to go through all of the devices simply because it's not going to take too long. I invite you, if there's anything you don't understand or you can't, kind of experiment with to work out, then no problem, find me a question. It's not a problem at all. But up here we've got, as everything's labelled, desktop mouse by, we've got the desktop presentation, the mouse, so the cursor animating around, and then for the by sequence. So essentially this comes down to whatever you want your demo to be. There are three demos, as you probably know, for this template. There's the tablet, there's the phone, and there's the desktop. And then there are several options for specific demos on those each of those devices. Well, if you want the desktop demo with the mouse and for the by sequence, then you can simply enable that, and it's going to bring up all of the relevant animation. You can see here we've got the mouse cursor, and we've got all of the kind of the path for the cursor there, the artwork, and everything else that goes along with that demo. In this case we've got the phone on, so we don't need that, right? And really it is the same kind of principle really for all of these compositions down here. If you want the tablet for the by sequence, then you're probably going to want the hand. You simply enable it and you're going to see this hand pop up here. Right now we're using the email sequence for the mobile and we want the hand. It really is as simple as that. So that's the reason why these are grayed out, because we really don't need to go into them and make any edits. So first of all, let's come down here. These three layers are for the desktop, so we don't need to see that. Again, it really is intuitive. You simply enable them if you so choose. Okay, for example, I want the desktop, I want the by sequence, you simply enable that. And then down here we've got the core desktop, which we can enable, and then it shows the kind of the framework of that demo. For this scenario we don't actually need that, so we're going to disable that. So jumping in here to the mobile composition, you can see it's enabled. We're going to jump into this, and it's the same principle really for the tablet. We're going to jump in, and you can see we've now got no background and just the device. Okay, fair enough. We've got these layers here which are yellow, which tell us we can go in and we can make edits, or we can enable and disable. So here we've got the UI for the email, for the mobile phone sequence. Let's jump into this. Again, it's just a case of coming in. Okay, we've got another segment of the phone animation. It's all kind of compartmentalized, so it's all a lot easier to juggle. You can come forward here. Okay, this is the animation. We see the text here, so the text layer must be here somewhere. If we just look down at all of the layers, we can see here a text layer. If we disable and enable, we can see that's our layer. These chevrons up here, you can see the arrows that are kind of animated here. These are yellow because you can actually add a fill if you so choose to change the color of the chevron if you want it to be more closely matching your brand, for example. Up here we've got the fill in the effect controls. You just change the color to whatever you want and you can see it all update. In this case we'd select all of these. I'm just holding down Command and selecting these chevrons, and then we can make the changes. Again, if I'm going too fast, you can ask a question directly to me, and I'll be more than happy to answer it. I just really want to keep these nice and quick. I think this is intuitive enough to be able to kind of work out how it all works together, and indeed it's better for the user as well if they can understand it through experimentation, because it's learnt so much quicker. So we've got all of these layers enabled here. We've got this email field which is already open for us. If we disable that and we enable that, we can see that it's already red. We can actually change this if we like. Let's say we want it to be a blue. You can see it updates immediately there. And if we come forward, we've got this button here, so that must be edited somewhere if we so choose. And then we can see we've got the button down here. We can enter this composition, and then again we can edit the yellow layers. And it really is as simple as that. Again, it's the same principle for the mobile, for the tablet, excuse me. So that's what we understand there. Again, if we come back to the top layer of the device demo, if we come into the mobile composition again, you can see that we've got these two kind of half and half compositions down here. What's this? Well, again, you know, just disable. And you can see what you're dealing with. If you say, for example, okay, I want to edit the color of this, you know, top address bar here, all you've got to do is determine where it is in the composition. Okay, it's there. I can double click and then I can make my edits. As we come across here, we can see this kind of funky loading line coming here with 3 shades of red. You can't see it clearly here because we're at 1/8 of the resolution, but you can probably remember it from the promo video. And you can see the respective colours here. We've got the light pink there, we've got a bit more of a darker kind of red there, and then we've got a normal red just here. And again, as you come along, these layers that do have a lot of editable points, they will be already opened inside of your file by default. So you can essentially just come down and say, okay, well, that color is the same as this area on the phone, so I can change that, and it's going to update. Or alternatively, you can change the color to something else, and then you can see what changes in your picture viewer. So there really isn't that much more to it than that. The reason why we have 2 halves here is very simply because this is repeated but reversed. Okay, so if you change this one, you actually change this as well. If there is something which doesn't update, then again you can simply come into this composition and make any changes, or you know, for example, and it's all very intuitive. Okay, so if we come out of that, we'll come back here and we'll look into the desktop. So I'll take the opportunity here to enable our core desktop. We'll actually come into a part of the animation here. You can see we've got the reflection here, which isn't quite the same size as the desktop. It's for the mobile, of course. So what we can do is simply disable everything referencing a mobile. We've got the desktop here. We can enable, and you can see it's the right size. We've got the mobile hand email here. Well, in this case, we want the desktop mouse for buy, so we'll enable that. And we'll come down, we'll just ensure we've got everything we need. Core desktop, okay, it's yellow, so we can go inside, and then we can go inside here, and then we can make our edits there. Okay, it really is as simple as that. All the yellow compositions or the yellow layers, you can edit them in some way, and you can just experiment. Really, I think experimentation is the best way to do this. These, you know, no one wants to watch long tutorials. The best way to go about it is just to experiment, really, after the basic framework has been shown to you. We can see here, is there anything else that I can show you that might be useful? We've got our elements there. We've got desktop UI, email and buy. They're actually in this layer here simply because of how the project can be organized so that it all flows nicely. Up here we selected desktop mouse buy, so here we would select desktop UI buy, and then we'll play that back and you can see the UI has just popped up there. The best way to go about this, I think, is just to watch your video, and if something's missing, then that's a prompt for you to go back to the timeline and just enable what you can. Other than that, it really isn't too difficult. In case you're struggling with the text, let's have a look here. Let's see, we've got your logo there. If we figure out which composition it is, yes, it's that composition. Let's go in here. We've got our logo here. So this is actually a PNG. We know that because we can disable it and enable it, and it reflects here. What you can do here very simply is find Reveal Layer Source in Projects. We can right click again. We can reveal in Finder. And then if I bring this over here, we can then open this up, for example, in Photoshop or whatever photo editor we use. There is a PSD here as well, in case you would like that. You make your edits, and then you simply, the best way to go about it is actually to replace the image here, so that this name is actually brought into After Effects, and then it updates automatically. Okay, and as long as it's the same size, you're going to have a very smooth, clean kind of import process for your logo. Just make sure you save it as a PNG so it's a transparent background. Anyone who has used After Effects for a year or more is going to find this fairly simple to get around. If you haven't though, and you find these videos going a little too fast, again, I really encourage you to reach out to me and just follow me a question. Here, for example, we've got our colour. This can be a bit tricky actually for people who aren't too experienced in After Effects. If you want to edit these, the red here, you can select all of the keyframes that are associated with red, and then select our colour, and then change it. You can see that the colour updates down here. If you don't actually select all of the keyframes, it simply means that you don't change all of the colour. We've still got red here, which means you necessarily need to go and change that again. This is something that you would happen across quite naturally and quite intuitively. Say, okay, well, I need to update that colour. Really is as simple as that, and that's how we update the demo sequences.